It's one of Asia's longest waterways, stretching almost 4,500 kilometers from the Tibetan Plateau to the South China Sea. The Mekong River has been the lifeblood of Southeast Asia for centuries, flowing through Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. River life has remained largely intact, despite the economic boom that has come to the region over the past 20 years. But now, the first waves of development are coming to the waterway. These are the waters that enchanted French explorers as they made their most important expedition into Indochina in the mid-19th century. On June 5, 1866, Francis Garnier and 5 others left Saigon to look for trade routes into southern China. As they sailed upriver, what they found instead were the waterway's unquestionable beauty and diversity. Today, the Mekong's splendor remains, along with the old ways of river life. Nguyen Van Long and his wife are on their way to a floating market in Cho Doc, near the Cambodian border. They sell fruit and produce, just as their families have done for generations. The hours are long, the work is hard, but it's a good living that earns the couple $25 a day.
People have been doing this for a long time as their way of life. We all prefer to keep doing business like this on the Mekong.
And so do fisherfolk like Nguyen Van Xuan. He's one of thousands of families in Cho Doc who harvest the fruits of the river.
At the start, my family were traditional fishermen, but now we can breed them and farm them here on the water at my house, like this.
The ebb and flow of life here may be as old as the Mekong itself, but just like the twists and turns of the mighty river, it may be about to change course. The government is encouraging those living on the water to relocate onto land. It's part of a plan to improve the transportation network on the waterway and to develop industry along the Mekong.
For the whole province, there are more than 8,000 families who now farm fish for a living and also live in homes on the water. We sell our fish to other provinces, and now some are exported to Singapore, Hong Kong, and recently to the United States.
Globalization has made its way into the sleepy corner of Vietnam. The country has become a competitive player in exports, such as rice and seafood, which mainly hail from the Mekong Delta region. And now Hanoi would like to add fruit to that list. The Mekong River has gone beyond being the lifeblood for the local economy. The government has big plans. It's been encouraging farmers to reclaim land in order to establish orchard farms to cultivate crops for export. The pressure is on for reclamation and improving infrastructure. 38 bridges are to be built along the Mekong River by 2004 to speed the growth of industry in the region.
With the Mekong River running through the south by 40,000 square kilometers and having a population of 17 million, the region has a lot of potential for development.
However, conservationists fear progress will adversely affect the environment and local traditions.
The biggest challenge is to combine conservation work with poverty alleviation, which is one of the main national priorities in Vietnam. And you know that Vietnam is developing very fast.
But officials are optimistic that a balance can be struck.
The government is improving the infrastructure, and that will make it easier for people to reach and use the Mekong River Delta. So that's good. We are also keeping and preserving Vietnam's natural and cultural identity. For example, we have preserved the mangroves and wild bird populations along the Mekong River.
As long as the Mekong's natural wonders, like the stork sanctuary, remain intact, some believe the region's identity is safe from change. To provide a glimpse of a different view of Vietnam, one luxury resort group decided to establish itself off the beaten track. NICOLAS JOSI manages the Victoria Hotel in Cho Doc. He admits It isn't a typical destination for travelers, but hopes that will change.
The attraction is the originality, the authentic lifestyle, typical lifestyle in the Mekong Delta, which actually attracts the guests to come down here. It will be a springboard as soon as the roads are a bit better, as soon as the whole transportation system is a bit better set up, more easy to follow as a tourist. And it will definitely stay a tour, which will be very interesting for the tourists to hop from Vietnam throughout to Cambodia up to Laos.
That's the idea that boutique travel companies hope to sell. More and more are specializing in ecological, culinary, and humanitarian tours in the region.
This is all agricultural river life there, so that's why it makes itself different from other parts of the country. So it's a great attraction to tourists.
NGUYEN is marketing director for Trails of Indochina. He says some travelers prefer to be donors rather than holiday makers.
They go to a poorest family in a commune to give a water buffalo to really change their whole life through. And doing this, it has a really knock-on effect in a way that if they give a water buffalo, it gives birth, so the next poorest family can benefit. Well, the baby. So it's really, it really adds value to their trip, and this is what is really memorable about Vietnam.
Meanwhile, small businesses along the Mekong are realizing their potential by sticking with tradition. Coconut plantations are abundant along the river. Coconut candy made the old-fashioned way is a specialty in the region. And that's caught the attention of tourists who come here for the homemade confectionery. But as time goes by, many wonder if there'll be fewer opportunities to see these kinds of traditional handiwork.
Probably there will be, because there's so much industry coming in, and TV and automobiles and bridges being built. It's going to be different, and it needs to be, so that people here can progress.
However, progress is something that's been put on the back burner for owner Lee Hong Van. Her family business has been around for 50 years.
I think this traditional style of making coconut candy will survive in the years to come. It's all handmade, and tourists support this. And the handmade candy is so popular that we now sell to large companies in Saigon.
Lee Hong Van says she resisted selling the business to a big company seeking to mass-produce the candy. After all, she says, profit can't replace personal pride. She, like many others, vows to maintain tradition, despite changes on the horizon.
And that's all we have time for on Focus Asia this week. Please email us if you have any comments about the show. And don't forget the website if you want to look at our archive of stories from around the region. Thanks for watching. I'm Susan Yu. Goodbye.